Hello and welcome to Talk of the White Lotus. I'm very excited about this.
I'm also excited about this.
We were going to call it Talk of Thailand.
Which is a great name. However,
Yes.
people might not have known what it was.
Yes.
So we went with the obvious and much worse choice.
Yes.
Of is it Talk of the White Lotus?
Talk of the White Lotus.
It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
It's clunky, it's worse, but it's SEO friendly.
Yeah.
And that's all we care about here on Talk of the Townsends, which is a show where we talk about TV shows and other stuff. We've got a mini-series about The Apprentice, and now we have a new mini-series about The White Lotus, Season 3, a highly anticipated show for us.
A highly anticipated show for a lot of people, I think. This is known, what we in the biz call event TV, right?
Amen.
And I absolutely love going back to when shows were released weekly. Mm-hmm. There's a big debate online. Do people want shows to be dropped in one drop? So
Yep.
all episodes in one drop? Or do they want them week by week? And I personally prefer a week by week scenario.
Agree.
I sometimes quite like it when a show drops the first 2 or 3 episodes if it's new to get you into something. But White Lotus doesn't need to do that because it knows it's got locked in viewers who are going to love it. It's also a familiar premise,
Yes.
right? There was nothing too out of the ordinary in this first episode. What do you prefer? Do you prefer...
I think it depends on the quality of the show.
Right.
If it's a show like this where every episode is twisty and turny and beautifully written, you know, it's like Day of the Jackal. Like I really enjoyed watching that week on week. If it's one of those shows that's just kind of like it all blends together and it's just kind of something for the background, dump it all once. You
Fine.
know, it's like to dump or not to dump. But for something like this, and you've hit upon something really interesting there, which is that one of the genius things about White Lotus is that it has got a formula.
Yes.
And it understands that formula, and then it plays with you each season, even though there's only been 3 seasons.
Yes.
Because it knows that you know about this and that, and then it's going to subvert. All it ever does is subvert.
Yes.
And already in this first episode, you've got, you know, there's almost recurring character types in this.
100%.
Of like shitty teens or like insincere rich people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's mostly about insincere rich people, to be fair.
There's tension throughout that we are familiar with, but
Yes.
in different twisty, turny ways.
I think tension is the name of the game in White Lotus. Like every scene is just so loaded. It'll just be people having usually a very polite, smiley conversation. And Mike White, the writer, and everyone who makes it is just so good at loading everything with like resentment and
There's
loathing
undertones.
and things that are unsaid.
So the animated title sequence of White Lotus usually gives us a few clues to what's going to happen in the series. Did you pick anything up?
I didn't. And it's so funny because like with season 2, by the end, you're like, oh my God, the entire plot is basically revealed here. I mean, this one seemed to have a lot more focus on monkeys.
Yes.
And a lot of what I presume is like Thai folklore and stuff, which will probably relate to the show in some way. But did you notice anything plot-wise?
I noticed there were lots of themes in the opening title of like almost taking over and overthrowing something. Like
Interesting.
the monkeys were climbing up some sort of statue and there were people on top trying to fight them off. There were scenes of in the water of some sort of animal and they were attacking the people. Is there some sort of, again, I mean, White Lotus plays a lot on class.
Yeah.
Is it similar kind of things we've seen before? But I did notice throughout that was something that kept popping up.
And I wonder if there'll also be some kind of theme of like nature versus man. You know, the monkeys are such a big part. You know, will the animals reclaim the resort
Well,
or
exactly.
something?
That's what I was getting from those title cards. What did you think about the song choice?
It was bold. I liked it. The problem is that like obviously that iconic
Yes.
is so burned in my brain. And obviously season 2's theme was such a goddamn banger.
Yes.
This was a banger and I'm sure I will come to love it. But the fact that they haven't brought that melody back does break my heart a little
You
bit.
kept on saying, I'm waiting for it to like drop.
Yeah.
That is like that building tension thing though, right? Because we were almost waiting for a beat to drop like we've seen in previous White Lotus. And it just didn't. It kind of stayed here, which puts you on edge. Because you're waiting and it doesn't come, which is interesting.
A small part of me, and this might just be like cope, but a small part of me is like, will the theme change as the series goes on? Like once we're a few episodes in, will they drop that?
Oh, they're going to bring it back.
Yeah, maybe just because it's episode 1, like you say, it's table setting, it's about building tension. You know, will we get a different theme as it goes on? Probably not, but that'd be interesting.
What White Lotus does that sets it apart from other TV shows is it establishes characters in such few sentences. This is truly an art form. When we met those girls, the friends,
Yes.
we were told very quickly, it was almost like a showmance, right? They were being introduced to the resort worker.
Yeah.
And you could feel a slight tension between them, that they were almost trying to convey that they were really good friends. And I would say we spent about 5 minutes with those characters and we knew so much about the dynamics between them.
Yeah.
Even at the end of the episode, one of the women said to the other women, your daughter feels like she's turning into a really cool person.
Yeah.
Which tells us that she doesn't know her daughter. And these are supposed to be, you know, they keep reflecting on, we are best friends. We've grown up together. We haven't spent much time together. That just tells us so much that she doesn't know her daughter. Like, how close are these women?
Yeah. And also, do you notice that every memory they had was from school?
Every memory.
They don't have any adult memories together.
No.
I also like your daughter is turning into a really cool person, because that's not really a compliment. You're not saying like smart or funny. Cool is almost a bit like slightly backhanded.
And this is the lady that we've seen countless times. The other two are back and forth. You're so pretty. You're so great. You're so great. And she is just there. There's so much there. You see a lot of reviews of movies and they said, you know, within an hour and a half, I felt like I didn't know these characters.
Yeah.
With White Lotus, 5 minutes with those women, we'd seen them on screen. And I felt like I knew so much about them and about their dynamic. And that is truly wonderful writing.
If there is one thing about Mike White, is that he understands character in just an incredible way.
Yes.
He takes these always very normal, you know, maybe slightly luxurious, but normal people, and he makes you care so much about them. He makes you so invested in their little drama. Like, it's such good writing and very good acting, of course. I mean, I would have loved to have had that role of the woman who her job for like 10 minutes was just to
chug in the wine.
Just chug wine. And somehow that wasn't too much,
No.
because that would happen in real life. Sometimes life is like that overt.
Yeah, you need that escape. She's there chugging the wine and no one's really noticing.
He's so good as well, Mike White, at tapping into these really small little social dramas of like when there's a group of three who are friends, but two of them are much better friends.
Yes. Well, it says two's company, three's a crowd. And
Exactly.
is that what we're seeing here?
Which I feel like most of us experience in school.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's not a coincidence they keep talking about school, because as an adult, I think if you were the third friend, you'd usually just like remove yourself or move on or whatever. And
it's such a good point that you said that they are only talking about school memories. Because if this was a group that had grown up together, they would be talking about, you know, last year when we were in Bali, last year when, you know, your reference points wouldn't always be talking about school because it was so long ago and we've done so much since then. It just tells us so much.
It's so good. We have to talk about, let's continue our tour of the characters, because every character so far I'm into.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the freak family.
It's making me feel uncomfy in a way that is hard to do these days. In TV, we talk a lot about that sometimes you don't need to show the thing.
Yes.
And actually, it's scarier sometimes to, you know, if something bad is happening and a door closes, that we're like, oh God.
It's the implication.
It's the implication. But it can be quite hard to kind of shock people these days because we really have seen it all.
Yes.
So to do something that's like under the surface, that's making us feel uncomfy, the strange family in White Lotus, what is going on with them?
Immediately you pick up on like 9 different weird interpersonal relationships. Everyone has a weird relationship with everyone else. The older brother, Saxon, I think his name is,
Yes.
is such a wonderful freak.
Yeah.
And played beautifully in terms of just like, he's one of those people who's so sexual, you're like, maybe he's a full virgin.
Yes.
Because no one talks about sex like this.
Yeah.
And then there was that crazy bit at the end where he's like nude and about to have some fun, and then his brother's like staring at him naked, and it's like
weird.
There's like strong like weird incestuous
There's
vibes
weird
going on.
incest vibes. And I almost hope White Lotus is going to do a bit of a rug pull of like, of course it's not that.
Like making us feel like the freaks.
Well, yeah, because when I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't want to be picking up incest vibes from this. And
Yes.
also, like, that is extreme.
That
That
is
is something
extreme.
that we don't see in media very often
No.
for good reason. So I'm like, please do a rug pull and it not be incest vibes. But we saw it with the girl saying sleep in my room. And he was like, why would she sleep in his room? And then I'm like, how do I feel? I don't even know how I feel about that because I'm like, it wouldn't be weird, but now he's made it weird. So what is that? And when there was that kind of divide between, are you going to the pool? Are you coming to the... What's going on?
Yeah, because also the relationship between the two younger siblings is really weird. Like, they feel like they don't really know each other.
No.
Or, you know, the younger brother in general has a strange vibe. I mean, that's another archetype in the White Lotus is like the strange... There's always the kind of strange quiet teen and there's always the kind of pervert guy. And it's funny that like the episode opens with a shooting and with a body in the water and like that's obviously going to be the overarching thing, but like the character work is so strong that like that's not even the main thing we jump to.
Absolutely not.
Because you know you're going to get, weirdly, you know you're going to get a fun murder mystery in White Lotus, but that's not even the main, you kind of come for that, but you stay for the just uncomfy situations.
Can I tell you something that does annoy me about White Lotus?
Okay.
These are uber rich families, right?
Yeah.
They rock up at a resort. They, don't know how many rooms the hotel has. They're staying in some sort of villa and they're like, how many rooms are there?
Yeah.
And they find out that there's 3. One, why didn't we check that beforehand? Like, these are the super rich. Everyone would have their own room, I would assume.
Yeah.
We saw this in season 1 where there was that super rich family and the 2 girls were staying in the middle of the room.
Yeah, but you forget that the super rich are incredibly cheap.
Is that what the implication is?
Maybe. I think that's a common trait of the uber rich is that they don't spend any money.
But why have we gone all the way to Thailand to not spend money?
I guess also like did they say that the dad booked it? So maybe the dad's a bit useless or maybe his assistant booked it or something.
Sure. I just always find it odd because we saw that in season 1. Those girls, do you remember they had the brother and he was sleeping in like a broom closet?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
These people are so rich. And the friend, they were just like on a sofa bed in the middle of the room. I was like, why doesn't everyone have their own room? And that was never explained. So, okay, maybe the dad booked it in this series, but I still think it's strange.
That is strange. And it's funny that that's recurring now.
Yes, it's a recurring theme.
Let's continue our little tour of the characters. So you got Walton Goggins and look, I know these characters have names, but we'll learn them later. But you got Walton Goggins and then you have Amy Lou
who I love from Sex Education.
Who has just one of the best looks. I love her teeth. I like that they mentioned her teeth in this.
I like that they mentioned her teeth too. She's playing this so fantastically. You're so pretty. She's so pretty, isn't she? So pretty. She's got this like light and life to her. And this friendliness and this like, I can't fault her. I've kind of fallen in love with her character already.
It's a character that like I think a lot of actors would do a bad job with because
too bimbo-y.
Ultimately it's like the young girlfriend of a rich guy who's a bit of an airhead.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people would play that in the most boring way possible.
Yeah.
Or in an unlikable way. She's very good at being ditzy, I guess. But she just plays it, like you say, so well. You really do kind of root for her.
Yes, you want to be her friend. The second it doesn't seem insincere when she's saying, she's so pretty, let's go have fun, let's get drunk. Like, she just is like a girl up for a good time and you want to have a good time with her. When that other lady sat down with her at the bar, I'm like, I'd love to have a night with her. She seems so fun.
I also like the dynamic between her and Walton Goggins is like, he's not like bossing her around. If anything, she's holding her own and bossing him around.
Yes.
I quite like that.
Immediately when they started mentioning that they had traveled lots of different places and it was all quite last minute, I said, drugs.
Yeah, you called drugs pretty. I don't know. Is that meant to be a mystery, or do you think that there's meant to be an implication there?
I mean, there's something dodgy, isn't it? Why would we suddenly need to go here? He wanted to see the hotel manager. My guess, I'm putting it out there, I have no idea, is that the hotel manager's maybe got some sort of drugs and he owes him money and that's why they've come. Is that too obvious? Maybe.
Because they also said that he's not allowed in Australia. She was like, why? Have you been arrested or whatever? That was kind of a heavy-handed thing.
Yes, that was... There were a couple of things I will say in this episode that I was like, is it a bit heavy-handed? And maybe it's leading us down a garden path. You know, when the son picked up the fruit and she was like, it's got toxic pips in it. I was like, is that going to come up? I
trust the show enough for that stuff to be red herrings.
Yes, I hope some of it is, because otherwise it was like, okay.
There was one bit where they, when they introduced the lady who's the owner, and then they said, my husband is a very important man. And then again at dinner with the women, they were like, my husband's an important man. And to me, that feels like the studio or the producers being like, we really need the audience to understand this guy's an important man. Could they just re-explain him?
Yeah,
it's like, we already met this guy. By the way, a thing I really love in TV and film is when they've clearly changed the script a little bit to fit the the actor. Like, I love that they had that line about Amy Lou's teeth.
Yes.
I love that she was like, oh, are you British or whatever? Because maybe the role was written specifically for her. I don't know. But I like to think that they changed the lines just to... And it just brings you into the story a lot more in a way I really enjoy.
Yeah. Talking of heavy-handed, we also had Amy Lou say, even if it kills me.
Yeah.
We're going to have fun or something, or I'm going to get you to relax. Something like that, even if it kills me.
Yeah,
Which
classic.
again is probably a red herring, but it's fun to pepper those things in there.
I don't know if we're just dumb, but like obviously the show opened with that young guy and he's like, I'm here with my mum. And then there's a shooting and he's running trying to find his mum. And then it wasn't until so much later when, is her name Belinda?
Yes.
When Belinda shows up and she's like, my son's coming to visit. And even then we didn't clock it.
No, I did. I went, oh!
And I was like, what? And then I realized, oh my God, that's her son.
Yeah, because we don't want it. She's the one person that we definitely don't want to die.
And that's such smart writing from him of like, let's bring back a beloved character and then let's make the big tease. Does she die?
God.
I love her. Shout out to that actress for imagine being so good at acting that they have to bring you back and you get a free trip to Thailand.
Yeah.
And they write a show around you.
I literally said, not a bad gig for her. She's already got one trip and now she's on a second one. That series 1 with her kind of broke our heart a bit. It was Jennifer Coolidge and her, right?
Yeah.
And I think about her printing out that business plan and staying up until the early hours to write it. And like, I genuinely feel like a twinge in my heart.
Me too.
The way that was written and acted and how that can still, that was years ago I watched that and I can still feel those things.
She is just like pure like light and goodness and empathy. Like you just want such good things for her. Again, that's the genius of the writing of White Lotus is that, okay, yes, occasionally there's a murder, but usually things are very low stakes. Usually just things are about interpersonal relationships. Like the thing that broke our hearts was that basically she wasn't going to get some money for her business. It wasn't like life or death, but they played the emotion of it so beautifully
but I guess,
that it was heartbreaking.
But I guess it was a new life for her.
It was life-changing. Don't get me wrong.
It was actually quite high stakes.
But it made you feel the stakes of this.
It made you feel the stakes
that
of
wasn't
this.
the world ending or whatever.
No. I think, yes, I'm with you there. It was high stakes for her. And so it meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's not going to change the path of the world or anything.
It's not, I watched Game of Thrones back in the day, and it's like, is this dragon going to destroy this city or whatever? But like, no, this woman having her business dreams shattered, it has stayed with me more emotionally for years.
Yeah. There were so many fantastic bits in episode 1 of White Lotus. LBH, Losers Back Home.
Losers Back Home.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, no, that's actually a thing I've heard of before.
Losers Back Home.
Losers Back Home.
LBHs.
What was that Jennifer Coolidge's husband, Greg?
We need to look it up, and it's really poor that we didn't look it up before we started.
I forgot, but I'm pretty sure it's Greg, the husband that he was the one who basically tried to kill her last season. We obviously have to name check Lisa from Blackpink, probably the biggest superstar in the show.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've not seen acting from her before, but she was great.
She was great, yeah, of
Supernatural.
course.
Mook.
Yeah.
Cute name. I love her little potential romance with the security guard guy.
His acting and that line delivery, and again, it's telling us so much about the kind of person that he is like satisfied and happy with the life he's leading, that, she says, but don't you want more?
Don't you want to travel or whatever?
Yeah, don't you want more kind of out of your life? And he says, well, look, I saved, there is fun or there is adventure here. I saved someone 2 years ago. He still writes to me. I mean...
From Belgium.
But like, that is just... Oh, that is just so lovely.
It was so crazy because we spent, a minute with them?
Yes.
And I looked over and you were like, oh, and you'd like fallen in love with this character I want nothing but good things. And that is such a testament to the writing and acting.
Yeah.
Of like, damn, we are all in on this guy.
Yeah.
We want her to be with him.
Do we think the lady who owns the hotel in White Lotus, they're trying to make her a bit of a Jennifer Coolidge? Because we saw her, right? Her opening shot was her getting pampered.
Yeah.
And they're like, the boat's arriving. And she's like, well, tell them to drive around the bay.
Yeah.
Like, do we think that was kind of maybe what they were going for?
I didn't put that together, but yeah, that has strong Coolidge vibes, actually.
Because otherwise, are people online going to be like, we miss Jennifer Coolidge? It's not the same without Jennifer Coolidge. Like, it was strong diva vibes.
Yes.
From the get-go.
You've got to give the Twitter gays something to make fan cams of. You've got to give them a mother. And I guess she's fulfilling that role of of like a diva Coolidge type. I didn't think about that, but that's so true.
I wondered if that was a bit of they've replaced one for the other.
Do you think she's going to be more of a big character? She's obviously, her husband, as we were told multiple times, is like important. But do you think she's going to be a main character or just someone who kind of pops in and out?
I would say she's going to be a main character. I think that they're positioning her as someone who's going to have quite a lot of plot. What do you think?
A mover and shaker. I think it could go either way, but she got quite a big intro, like you say. So she's obviously got like a bit of importance plot-wise.
A little bit of importance, and there's an air around her. I mean, is her husband going to come back? Is that going to be the thing? I mean, she's kind of running the ship, right? When he's not here. So I would have thought, I don't think she'll turn out to be very nice.
Yeah. No one's nice in this show.
Would be my guess. But I think that we are going to see a lot of her and maybe not all of it good.
There's a couple of other threads that need to be sorted out. One of them is the daughter who's like studying the monks.
Yes.
But then didn't go into the temple or whatever. There's something going on there.
Yeah, they've gone all the way there and she didn't even bother to drop a message to say we're coming.
Very strange. Maybe she's got like a secret boyfriend or something. Obviously, Jason Isaacs, the dad, he's like being investigated because of some business thing or whatever.
That seems like it's going to blow up, right?
That's going to blow up. His wife also seems to be on lots of different... There's a point where she's like, I had a burst of energy, and he was like, oh God. And she was like, don't worry, I took a pill.
Wow. So they're like kind of sedating her.
Kind of sedating her, it seems.
Because she was like, I need to lie down. And he was like, you won't sleep later. And she was like, oh, I'll sleep later.
Yeah, there's something odd with her.
And she fell asleep. Did she fall asleep at dinner or something?
She fell asleep at dinner, and then she was like, scratched my arm, and she was kind of woozy.
Why? Why is she on the
What's going on there? It's fun that the siblings have that weird vibe of like, are they siblings? Are they like romantically involved? Because people often think we're brother and sister. So it's nice to have some representation on TV.
Honestly, the comments are increasing at the moment saying, oh my God, I always thought these two were brother and sister. I've just realised they're married. Or people will comment saying, are you two married or brother and sister ? And like,
I like how there's no implication that we could just be friends.
No, we got the same last name. It's talking to Townsends.
But that's why we'd be friends. What a great coincidence.
We're inbred. That's why we're stupid.
I like to think it's because people are like, damn, he could never get her, which is a compliment to me.
That's so nice. And
true. And you say it back?
I see why they...
And you say it back the other way?
No, it's because they think that I could never get you.
Oh, stop it. You could.
Yeah, so just to confirm, if you have been listening this whole time and thought, are they brother and sister? We're not brother and sister.
We're not brother and sister, no. We're mother and son. We won't say who's who. I'm so excited for more White Lotus. This was a great first episode.
I know at the top of this episode I said I like it being released each week, but given we've just watched that and all I want to do now is watch episode 2, I'm like, God, I wish it was sooner.
I'm itching for more. Can I tell you a weird dark secret of mine? For some reason, ever since series 1 of White Lotus, I loved that so much.
Yes.
And when the second one started, in the back of my mind, I thought, it's not going to be as good. I was like, he's not going to be able to do it again. And then all the way through series 2, I was like, wow, this is not only as good, like it's better. Like I do think 2 is better than 1 and I love 1.
Yeah.
And then when this one started again, I kind of thought, he's not going to be able to do it a third time. The cat's here. He's doing it again. I don't know why I doubt Mike White, but like, I think it's so good that keeping up quality like that is so hard, but they do it.
I can already feel I am going to enjoy this series more than series 2.
Wow, and you love series 2.
I did, yeah, but I can already, like, there's something in the water. We need to find out where in Thailand they are or were. Where was this filmed in Thailand? And we need to go there.
I feel like everyone who's watched this show has had that thought.
Yeah,
I bet they've got...
well, because was it Italy?
Yes.
Was it the Four Seasons? Where was it filmed at?
Something like that. And it booked out for like years, didn't it?
Of course, because everyone wants to go. Okay, this is incredibly cute. If you could see on camera, Suki has come and very kindly sat in between us both.
She's so sweet. She
said,
between
no
us.
monster voice today.
Yeah, no monster. Well, it's still time. She sat between us licking herself. She's such a stereotypical cat. I've said it again. I'm going to make the prediction now. I think they should do a White Lotus in a ski resort. They should do a White Lotus where it's white because of the snow.
Very nice.
Because there's rich people on ski resorts.
Do you think Belinda's dead?
No. Well, but then they killed Jennifer Coolidge last season.
She would be the most shocking, right?
Yeah. I don't know who's going to die. I'm intrigued. Also, it's like multiple gunshots. It's like a big shootout happening.
There's a big shootout. Who is it to do with? Is it to do with the guy who we think Amy Lou's partner drugs? Is it to do, I mean, it's probably not that guy with the business thing. I don't think anyone's coming to shoot. I mean, one of the young boys could go off and get involved in something and there could be gangs coming for them.
A small part of me worries that really nice security guard guy is going to die.
Don't say it.
Because I feel like anyone...
You've just put that out there.
I have, but anyone with a kind heart in the
You're
White
trying to
Lotus...
manifest it.
Anyone with a kind heart in White Lotus always ends up getting screwed over. So I feel
No,
like...
I like him.
I know, so
I think
do
she'll
I.
go off with someone else, though.
Do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were laying the tracks for
One
that.
of the arrogant guys.
One of the arrogant smoking guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much. We will be back next week when the next episode of White Lotus comes out.
And of course, we'll have another episode of The Apprentice this week.
Yeah, I think I just said thank you, but I didn't really say for what. I meant to say thank you for listening, but...
Just thank you,
honestly, just thank you.
From my sister and I just want to say a big
up.
thanks.
Bye.
Follow the show.